One of the reasons I wanted to make this DVD is because I know just how hard the Intermediate Series can be. It took me many years before I felt at all comfortable in many of these postures. In this section called How to Work, I offer you some of the same techniques and principles that I use to convince my body that it was possible to do these very challenging asanas. Allow yourself to be creative when employing these techniques while working under the guidance of a qualified teacher. It's important to listen to your body while you attempt these techniques and while you attempt these postures. Every body is different, so along the way, give yourself space to learn what it is you need to learn from the inside out. There are many different approaches to yoga, and what I present to you here is not the absolute answer, but merely a way that I found extremely helpful to teach myself and to teach others how to move into these postures. Hopefully you too will find these techniques inspirational and insightful.
Pashasana position, the first posture of the Intermediate Series. Many people find it hard to start with both heels on the ground, so it would probably be useful to squat for a moment and get accustomed. Don't come onto the tops of your toes if your heels come off, but instead let there be weight in the heels of your feet, even if they don't make contact with the ground. Taking a few moments to reach as far over across your thigh as possible. We really want to feel that the shoulder moves as far down your thigh and your calf as possible. You might like to use the other hand to assist the bind around both of your knees. Reaching around the back, gently reach around to hold your fingers. Once the fingers make their contact, then you might find it useful to switch your gaze. If you lose the balance, you can look back down on the ground. If you want to try to get your heels down, you can let your butt reach up towards the ground until the heels touch down and then sink back down, maintaining the balance with the strength of your shins and the strength of the ankles. Now we'll try the other side. So remember, don't come forward onto your toes, but instead let the weight sink into your heels, having a nice deep squat all the way at your hip joints. Reach around on an exhalation so your torso slides around your thighs, hooking your arm fully around your thighs, taking as many breaths as you need to, extending along your shoulders, using the other arm to help ground. You'll notice that the hand that's reaching around the knees stays on the ground until it's time to gently reach up. You can use your thigh as a sort of a marker point for you to feel your way into balance. Remember to change your gaze slowly and never disturb the balance of your mind. As you sit your butt up and then down into a squat, remember to engage your shins and take your weight forward. Once you become proficient at this method, then it's appropriate to try with your heels down. Crown Chasana position. As you might find it difficult to jump forward when full balance, you can simply bring your knee through and bend your left knee to allow your hamstring to stretch as you prepare for the posture. Keep working on an inward rotation of both of your thighs and still resist the urge to round your back and reach forward. Still press down on the sit bones and work an inward rotation, but it might help your hamstring to gently bend your knee as you move out of the posture. Stepping back is also an option should you feel fatigued or want to conserve your energy at the beginning of the practice. As we move into the left side, we can gently move forward without coming to balance, making the vinyasa a little bit easier. Bending your knee will give you a chance to help stabilize your pelvis and work on that gentle inward rotation of both of your legs. You might find it useful to push down or pull down with your arms to give a little bit of weight into your pelvis and ground your upper thigh bone. Stepping back gently will also again conserve your energy and help keep your alignment in the practice. Bekasana position. Most people have a hard time reaching both feet down to the ground at the same time. So as a preparatory for the posture, you might find it useful to stretch one leg at a time. But make sure you set up your upper back by lifting your sternum and pressing your hand into the ground, gently coming as far up as you can, stretching your quadriceps, releasing your butt muscles as you move your toes towards the ground. Taking 5 breaths, first on the right side, as you elongate your spine, will help you feel more of a sense of release when you do move into the posture. Switching the sides, coming down onto the left, keep your right hand pressing firmly into the ground and engage your right leg to help stabilize the posture. Tucking your tailbone. It's advised, if you're going to stretch before, to move directly from the left side into both feet again. You should feel an increased sense of ease in your quadriceps and an increased ability to lift your spine. Dhanurasana position, or bow posture, is one of the first and most basic back bends that we can perform. Yet, reaching back and holding both ankles may be too challenging for some of us. So you can lift up, reaching back, holding your right ankle, and then leaning to the side to hold the left. Then when you lift up, it will be easier. Separating your feet away from each other for a brief moment may help you engage your legs, but it's important to remember to bring the feet back together. Tucking your tailbone and extending out through your upper back will help you deepen your back bends. In Dhanurasana, we set up the foundation alignment principles for all of the back bends in the Intermediate Series and the later back bending sequence. Parsva Dhanurasana. Coming down into the posture, you might find it useful to again reach back holding one foot and then the other, allowing yourself to move into the posture with a little bit more relaxation. Leaning over to the side, you might find that just a moment to rest your head on the ground will allow you a little bit more spaciousness in the posture before the knees move together and the heels move together. You might find that you have to take your feet apart to come back up into balance and then back onto the left side, resting the head for a moment until you lift and engage into the posture. At any moment, should your body ask for a moment to relax, listen, relaxing your body before initiating movement. Again, lifting up into Dhanurasana, separating the feet for a moment may help you engage your legs as long as you bring the thighs back together to move into the completion of the posture. Having the strength of your body to support the flexibility is an important balance that's learned throughout the Intermediate Series. Ustrasana. A nice variation for this posture will be to take your time to set up the alignment of tucking the tailbone, sending your sacrum forward, pressing for a few moments with your thumbs onto your sacrum to help give direction to your pelvis. You might find it useful to have your chin gazing down so that you can see your pelvis moving forward before dropping the head back. You might find that relaxing the arms down, moving either one by one or in unison towards the heels will give you a sense of spaciousness in your joints. Sending your pelvis forward, take your hands back to your waist and the thumbs on the sacrum. Keep pushing down and forward on your sacrum while we move through Ustrasana. Taking a moment to move through the vinyasa. If you can't lift up, you can always lift one foot and then jump back from there. Every time you work at strength in the practice, you might move slowly, but over time you will see the results of your effort. Laghu Vajrasana. A posture aimed at building strength in your thighs. Make sure that you have a good sense of connection with your knees and your weight into the ground. If you have a hard time coming up from Laghu Vajrasana, you can hang as far back as you can control the posture and then come right back up. And then you can go down again, reaching a little bit further, and then coming back up, almost like a sit-up for your back and your thighs. Finally, if you can reach down, touching down only briefly, come right back up. There's no reason to hold for 5 breaths if you can't hold for 1. Touching your head to the ground, then come all the way back up, perhaps after 2 breaths, after your final try. Over time, you'll learn to keep the integrity and strength throughout your body. Kapotasana, one of the most challenging postures in the Intermediate Series, often used as a gateway to determine alignment, flexibility, and strength. Surprisingly, it works on all levels of the body, using the forward thrust of your pelvis that we learned in Ustrasana. Tucking your tailbone, press forward on your sacrum with your thumbs, sending your pelvis forward. Taking the hands in prayer position and hanging will allow gravity to open your spines. If it's hard for you to reach directly to your heels, you can take your hands down to the ground. Try to keep your head off of the ground as you walk your hands in. Walking your hands on the outside of your feet onto your mat will help you. If you need to rest your head for a moment, have a break, but then come back up before you try to walk your hands onto your heels. Once having your heels, thrust your pelvis forward, pull your elbows in, and then thrust them down into the ground. Never stop pulling with your arms so that your head moves closer and closer to your butt. If you take the hands out, and press firmly into the ground, grounding the heel of the hand until it's time to come back up. After a deep back bend, such as Kapotasana, you might need a few moments to capture your breath and regain control of your body. A long and soft child's pose may be necessary at this moment to relax the spine. Yet, the posture, Bakasana, which comes shortly after, mimics child's pose in a supported or engaged version. Remember to jump back, trying to lift as you jump back after you take a rest in Kapotasana. Supta Vajrasana. After you jump through, taking the lotus position and reaching your hands around your back, make sure you do your best to cross the elbows over each other, relaxing your arms and finding your sense of rest in the posture. Remember to enter on a back bend. Don't bend forward to hold your hands because you won't do a back bend from a forward bend. If you try alone, you might just hang your head back while pressing firmly into your feet. Or, should you feel courageous, reach your elbows down to the ground and then place the top of the head onto the ground while pressing firmly with your hands into your feet to help stabilize the posture, taking 5 long, deep breaths. I find it challenging to come up while holding onto the feet, so I release my hands to come up again. This can be quite tedious on your own, so you're always welcome to find some nice blankets, your bed, a chair, a couch, or a stable bookcase to thrust your knees into for a nice sense of stability and weight to allow you to come up and down on your own. Be creative if you're practicing on your own and use whatever is at your disposal, maintaining the rhythm of first down for 5 breaths, inhale and exhale for 3, and then down again for 5. Or you might enlist the help of a good friend to sit on the floor, which is an easier version than standing on your knees, giving you more space around the back of their knees to reach down towards the ground. If you find yourself slipping, you can either dry your toes off or place a towel on top of your toes. As much as possible, do everything to keep your fingers in contact with your toes. Work with your fingers, press firmly with your hands and pull forward with your toes. Use the strength of your arms and the openness of your spine to initiate the movement both from your hands and from the deep bend in your spines. If you need to let the knees float off the ground to keep contact, it's better to maintain the contact with your feet than it is to let go. Use your breath to remain calm while moving into the posture. Inhaling, coming back up. Bakasana B took me many years to learn to master. challenging by bringing the weight forward into the hands. Set your foundation up and firmly press your arms into the ground, rounding your upper back, jumping or gently hopping from a very close position. It will take the fear out of the posture, leaning forward into your arms for a few times, creating a rocking motion until you're ready to jump. Landing on your thighs, you might find that you have to squeeze up to lift into full bakasana. Once you get the confidence, take a few steps back and then jump again, catching in your arms, and squeeze all the way back up. Moving to even greater levels of confidence, move towards downward dog, inching your way back until you can fully catch yourself. There is a great tendency to want to let a toe touch towards the ground. Do not let your toes touch the ground. Take your weight forward, and if you need to fall onto your head rather than touching your toes down. You must learn to maintain the integrity of the posture in your upper back and with the strength of your arms, building a solid foundation of strength over time, using patience, persistence, and diligence to work your way into the posture. Ekapada Shirsasana, one leg behind the head posture. You might find the vinyasa difficult, so touch your right toe down to the ground, but keep the weight firmly in your arms. Taking a few breaths with your foot close to your face and the knee out to the side will accentuate the outer rotation of your hip joint. Taking the foot towards your ear while stabilizing and strengthening your back. Slowly using your hands to guide your legs into the posture, reaching around. Take as many breaths as you need to wiggle and move yourself into a deep state of openness, pulling your leg as far down your back as possible. Try to keep your right hip joint released as you move deep inside of your pelvis, only engaging at the last moment when you're ready to take your hands into prayer position. Then using the strength of your body and the strength of your right hip joint to thrust into the ground. If you find it hard to walk forward, use your hands to support your leg as you reach forward, taking your hands fully around your foot, using your elbows to thrust into the ground. Inhaling, lifting up. Bend your knee if you need to bring it close to your body to help the pelvis through, lifting up to straighten your leg. Jumping back slowly, coming into kind of a lean forward to help bring your legs back if you find it difficult. Ekapada Shirsasana combines both strength and flexibility, so allow yourself to find that perfect balance between activation and release, touching your toe down as we move to the left side. Important to keep a long, slow breath and a clear focus as you move from the face to the ear, rotating the trochanter of the left side back and down, protecting your knee by keeping the movement deep inside of your hip joint. Remember, the left hip stays relaxed and released, not engaged, not working until the final moment when you've moved as deep as you can go, dropping the head back, pressing the shoulders into the upper arm to take the hands into prayer position. Walking forward slowly, holding your leg behind your head with your other hand. You might need to wiggle your hand on the ground. Press your elbows firmly into the ground to help give a little extra support. Walking slowly back. Keep the leg behind the head by thrusting back with your neck. Bringing the pelvis forward, reaching up slowly. Bending and leaning forward, one leg and then the other leg moving back is a fine way to build the strength throughout the vinyasa. The work in second series is as much during the vinyasas as it is during the practice. Dvipada Shirsasana, both legs behind the head. Jumping forward, you might find that it's hard to balance, so touch your toes down, come to balance on your arms, sit down. Taking a moment to collect your breath, gently let your left leg roll out to the side, relaxing your hip joint, reaching underneath for your foot. Hold on to your ankle, bring the foot towards the face, and then reach around. Remember that left hip joint is totally soft as you work towards a deep outward rotation of your hip joint and a strong upward thrust with your back. Should your knee begin to feel pain, you can flex your foot. Reaching up with the right foot, use your feet to interlock the feet, and you might need to hook your feet to further allow the hips to open, to give a little bit more traction to allow them to stay behind your head. Keeping the feet interlocked until you feel stable in the posture gives you just that extra chance to work. Use your arms to thrust into the ground, your shoulders to thrust into your calves as you gently look up. Hooking your feet again for the second part of Dvipadashirsasana, when you lift up, will again give you that extra friction to keep the legs behind the head. Try to open them once you're up. Releasing the feet, gently straighten your legs and take back your legs if you need to, one by one, coming into Bakasana and jumping back. Again, the vinyasa is as important as the posture, so keep the integrity of your strength, being careful to work at every moment possible. Yoga Nidrasana. Another great place to work on the outward rotation of your hip joints with the full support of the floor underneath you. Once you lie down, relax your hips, widening your sacrum onto the ground, starting off by perhaps bringing both legs into your chest, reaching the knees towards the ground to help open your pelvis. Taking a few breaths to allow that nice sense of relaxation, leave your left leg up towards your body, bringing the foot close to your chest and close to your head. Lifting your body up off the ground, press with your left hand and your left elbow into your hip joint until you reach down, and then the right foot comes up. Keep thrusting the left toes into the ground until the legs cross. Hooking the feet again until it's time to open, and then press the toes into the ground. Take a moment and press firmly into your body, and perhaps using the hands to gently open your feet. Hanging the arms up over the top of the head will give you a little bit of extra weight. Push into your hip joints and allow your pelvis to move down towards the ground, gently elongating your spine until you move into the posture. It's a great place to work to allow your joints to open with the serenity and stability of the floor underneath you. Rolling back into Chaturanga Dandasana, a nice gentle movement towards Chatwari. While you might never find it comfortable enough to sleep in the posture, you hopefully will experience a state of rest. Titibhasana position. Jumping forward may be too difficult, so you can always take your feet down, readjust your shoulders to move high onto your arms, sink down into your hands, and then extend your feet up. Remember to keep the energy moving forward out through the soles of the feet. If you need a little bit of extra time to really move the shoulders over your arms, don't be afraid to take as much time as you need to really get the calves hooked around your shoulders before you move into B. If your hands don't reach, you can either leave them hanging or reach around for a towel, or reach and keep reaching and eventually finding your fingers. Once you find your fingers or a nice place to grab, separate your feet and then straighten your legs as much as possible. The strength of the legs is what supports you in the posture, so make sure that at any moment you have a strong sense of foundation. For Titibhasana D, an easier version is to bring the heels closer together and interlock your fingers without taking them to parallel position. This will allow you to reach the arms further and create a more stable sense of balance. It's not the most advanced version, but will help you work in the posture. Coming back up, at the end, take your legs into Bakasana one by one if need be, and then jump back. Your legs should burn the first couple of times you try Titibhasana, so allow the strength of your muscles working to be a guide to go deeper in your body. Pincha Mayurasana, a posture that took me more than 2 years to find balance in. There are many ways to work to build structure and foundation, which comes from the shoulder girdle and the strength of the shoulder blades being supported by your upper back, the latissimus dorsi, serratus anterior, and the deltoids all coming together. Set up the foundation by pushing your elbows firmly into the ground, sending your pelvis over your arms, perhaps bringing one foot for 5 breaths, keeping your pelvis moving forward over your hands, then switching your feet. Having the majority of your weight over your hands will get you stronger and build the foundation you need for balance. Coming down, take a break after you've had your 5 breaths on the right and left side, and then gently try again. Coming back up into the foundation, moving your pelvis over your hands, gently kick or lift up towards Pincha Mayurasana. Don't kick with too much force or it will be hard to balance. Moving into jumping back, you'll find that moving down and up in almost like a pinch up or a small version of a push up will help you find the strength to release your hands from the ground. Should you fall, no problem. That's the beginning of the backwards motion that you will learn to control the posture with. Remember, balance is a state of mind, so keep your mind calm while you try these various options. Reaching up through your toes, reaching the head down and up, down and moving the hands as you reach back towards the ground. There's a bit of fear and a bit of trust that you'll need to learn, as well as strength that moves and stabilizes the posture. Almost an inner scream will help you. Should you be uncomfortable with that, at any moment, just move back up into Pincha Mayurasana, place your head on the ground, and like a headstand, move your hands back. This will at least create some mobility and motion in your arms, and while not the complete version of the vinyasa, is at least a starting place to work. Karandavasana, a challenging posture that can take many years of work. A good place to start is in headstand. This is a more stable posture than Pincha Mayurasana and will give you ample balance to learn to take lotus position in an inverted posture. Moving your legs into lotus position, squeeze your legs together to create a more tightly bound lotus. Then on the way down, tuck your tailbone, roll your pelvis and your spine, keeping the knees into the chest, rolling all the way down until your knees touch your arms. Send your pelvis forward, keep the knees into the chest, pelvis forward, knees into the chest, and only when you're in balance do you bring the knees up, and then slowly, calmly release your Padmasana. Switching your hands and trying again from Pincha Mayurasana position, take lotus position and follow that same rounded rolling position all the way down until you reach your arms. This time you can take your head off of the ground since your arms are in a position to support you. Keeping your shoulder girdle strong, place your head down and move the pelvis forward, squeezing your knees together, coming into balance, releasing the lotus, and then coming down. Use your head as leverage throughout your attempts at Karandavasana. Use everything you have in your whole body to build the strength, keeping both a discipline on the physical level and a discipline on the level of the mind. Trying from full Pincha Mayurasana, some people have a hard time taking the lotus position due to tightness in their hips. If so, you might try a more open position with your legs to allow space to move into Padmasana, moving your feet as close to your hip joints, allowing your knees to point up towards the ceiling, and using your feet again to move into a tight lotus position. Squeezing yourself in, again rolling your pelvis down towards the ground and towards your arms. If you fall, as we often do, simply take a moment to recollect yourself and try again from the floor. As often as you can stay fully supported and down in Karandavasana, you will build the strength in your shoulder girdle, in your pelvis and your legs to move fully into the posture. Taking your forearms down, lift one knee and then the other knee, taking 5 long, deep breaths in the down posture, keeping the strength of your body as you do, and coming down when you can no longer sustain. With strength, give yourself time and space to fully allow your muscles to come into being. Years of dedicated practice will produce small results, so be patient and kind with yourself, and never ask your body for perfection, for the practice is practice and is meant to be enjoyed along the process. Mayurasana, another challenging posture that asks for strength to be articulated through all of your joints. It took me years to be able to move into the full vinyasa throughout the practice in fluid succession. Should you find a hard time lifting your legs, you might find it easier to do it from bent legs and then slowly, with balance, straighten your legs into Mayurasana. Opening the legs will also give you a little bit more connection into your legs and into the posture. Allow yourself many attempts at Mayurasana. Another version is to take the elbows into the belly and create that solid foundation of your arms, lifting one leg for 5 breaths and then the other leg for 5 breaths. Resist the urge to jump, for you must lift into the posture, and any second of lifting is better than jumping or hurling yourself into your arms. Nakrasana position. A dynamic, fluid series of movements that allows and asks you to be strong. If you can't jump from the floor, then straighten your arms, bounce forward, and integrate a push-up that will both build strength and give you the forward direction into your practice. Take time, for moving backwards is sometimes harder than moving forwards, and you may be able to move forward easily and need to straighten your arms to move backwards. These 10 push-ups that you may need to add will both build strength and stability in your body, and while not the traditional method, they are a way to work should you not be able to lift straight from Chaturanga Dandasana. Vatayanasana. One of the most challenging things about this posture is how close the heel must remain to the half lotus position foot. Giving a little space will give you greater sense of balance. At any moment that after you've been trying this for some time, bring your heel closer to your knee and then walk your way up by pressing your hands into the left knee or the knee that's not in half lotus. Slowly bringing your arms out in front of you. Not reaching as high with the arms will also give you a greater sense of balance. When you move through the vinyasa, try to keep the knee that's in half lotus off the ground. But should that be hard, if you find it on the ground, simply lift again by drawing and engaging the knee that's in half lotus. The reason why we keep the leg in half lotus off of the ground is because it's a deeper stretch inside of the psoas and prepares you for deeper back bending. Again, walking up your foot that now has a little bit more space out from the knee will give you a sense of balance. Anytime you need balance in your body, move slowly, step by step, taking each bit along the way. Jumping back, keeping the left leg that's in half lotus off the ground, sometimes needing a little bit of extra time to find that, but again, the vinyasa is as important as the posture, so use the time to work there too. Supta Urdhva Padavajrasana, a posture that requires you to balance both flexibility, direction, and strength. Rolling backwards, taking the right leg into half lotus position. If you can't hold on to your foot, you might take a towel and wrap it around your foot and hold on to the towel, reaching up towards your foot as close as you can. Having even this sense of stability or closeness to your foot will help give you the feeling of binding your foot as you reach around. If you can't hold your toe, you can hold on to your left foot rather than the toe to reach around. This will help keep your toes pointed. One of the pitfalls is jamming your toes into the ground, and holding firmly on your toe as you roll up will help prevent that from happening. When you lie down and bring your feet up over the top of the head, remember to roll fully onto your shoulders to get a deep sense of the shoulder opening, for it's this openness in your shoulders that will allow you to reach fully around. And sometimes your hand just slips and you might just use the towel as traction. Again, holding onto the toe may not work through the whole way, so switching on to hold your whole foot may give you that extra sense of space. As much as possible, keep the contact with your feet as you roll up. It should be uncomfortable in your elbow to start off with until you're able to open your shoulder more and feel the full expression of the posture. Mukta Hasta Shirsasana. An easier way to get into these challenging headstands is to come onto your knees and place the top of the head onto the ground, kneeling down to take the position. Using the strength of the arms, send your pelvis forward to come up, keeping still the integrity of the inversion. Reaching out through your toes, and then jumping back, staying a little closer to the ground. Moving through the vinyasa, coming again down to your knees to move into the second Mukta Hasta Shirsasana. B, taking the position while on your knees will again give you a little bit more of a chance to align your shoulders should you be working on strength. Make sure that you enter into a firm sense of the alignment, keeping your arms strong, the shoulder blades rolled down the back, and the chest open while you jump back. Mukta Hasta Shirsasana C is perhaps the hardest of the headstands, so there are two options. You can bend your arms instead of letting them be fully straight while kneeling down, sending your pelvis forward. Be careful not to send it too far forward or you'll go over. Then straightening the arms to a more aligned position once you find the balance. This does require you to have more control over the posture, but is a useful way to maintain the balance while learning. Backbending. It's important to still work yourself towards the edge of your flexibility, even if you're practicing on your own. After you've completed the backbending sequence, you might find that hanging for a long time in the preparation for dropping back will allow you to open your spine, tucking your tailbone, lifting your spine up out of the pelvis. If you're working on dropping back, this is a great position to hold for a long time until you see the floor. When you see the floor, you can place your hands down. If you are flexible and want to try to grab your own ankles, walk your hands in as close as you can, keeping your shoulders in alignment from the floor will allow you to move into the posture with a greater sense of stability. Use the strength of your legs to thrust your legs straight into the ground, coming up after you've walked your hands in as far as you can.